Hello, and welcome to the Climate Crisis Podcast. I know it's been some time, but hopefully people are still out there listening. This time I'm going to be doing things a little bit different, and I'm going to have three segments in this episode. The first segment is the Supreme Court ruling about Virginia versus the EPA. The second segment is about gas prices, and the third segment is the heat wave. So let's get right into it. So in Virginia versus the EPA, the Supreme Court said that anytime an agency does something big and the new regulation that they come up with will be invalid unless Congress has specifically authorized it. So specifically for the EPA, they'll have to get congressional approval before doing something. And this leads to the EPA having a limited ability to reduce climate pollution from power plants. Previously, the Clean Air Act was the law that defined the EPA's responsibilities for protecting and improving the nation's air quality and helping the ozone layer. And this ruling basically nulls that responsibility that the EPA has. So now the EPA has to get congressional approval before rolling out some big law. And you may think that actually sounds like a good idea. Like the EPA should have more regulations surrounding reducing like their responsibilities. But the problem is that Congress is essentially dysfunctional. So it's close to impossible to get these approvals. And if they do get these approvals, it'll take a long time to get each of them done. And it basically won't be as efficient as it was before. The US government also is planning to phase out coal-fired power plants, but without clear congressional authorization, they aren't able to do this. The Biden administration wanted to have a goal of reducing carbon emissions to 50 to 52% below its 2005 levels by 2030. But as of now, national emissions have only dropped about 15% from those 2005 levels. And at this rate, we might not reach that goal even. And in addition, all these new rulings that are coming out, it's going to be even harder to get to that 50 to 52% below the 2005 levels. So the Supreme Court ruling was a rule of 6-3, with Roberts, Thomas, Alito, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Barrett concurring with the statement that was put out, and Kagan, Breyer, and Sotomayor dissenting. So the dissents were the people who think that the EPA should still keep its responsibilities, and the other six were the ones who believed that they needed congressional approval before rolling out big authorizations. The specific issue before the court was how the EPA can regulate coal-fired power plants, which are the single largest source of carbon emissions that cause climate change. And so that was the specific thing they were ruling for or against. And it was against because of that 6-3 ruling. Hopefully, we're still able to decrease carbon emissions through some other things, but this is going to make it a lot harder for that to happen. So that just puts more responsibilities on the people since our Supreme Court isn't helping. Many people have gone out and protested to get rid of that EPA restriction, such as here the Sierra Club. So you could do that, but I'm sure that's very hard to do. But a lot of people have been doing that. Here is a survey that Evergreen Action did about the Supreme Court and how people are concerned about the Supreme Court removing environmental protections established by the climate crisis. Sorry, not the climate crisis, that's this podcast, by the Clean Air Action. As you can see here, majority vote was that people are very concerned about that. And again, with the political parties, only Republicans are the ones who are saying they're not at all concerned about this. But even still, with those votes tied in, 35% are very concerned about the Supreme Court removing environmental protections. So this just shows that the Supreme Court ruling isn't reflective about like the people in the survey who believe that it is concerning. Here is another survey about if the EPA should be allowed to regulate emissions for power plants. And again, this one, the Republicans are even more concerned, sorry, not more concerned, even more in favor of the EPA being allowed to contribute to climate change. So that just shows that the Supreme Court isn't very reflective of the people in the country, because all these voters, 62% of voters are saying that they should be allowed to regulate air pollution that contributes to climate change. Next, we'll be going into the gas prices. So I'm sure you've heard about the gas prices rising, but the thing is, I think that it's actually good for the environment, even though it might not be good for your wallet. California's gas price for a gallon of regular gas hovered around $6.42 per gallon, which is the highest fuel price in the country. Now, there have been a lot of surveys going out about the recent increase in gas price and how that's affected people's driving. And I think that because people are going to drive less because they feel like the gas prices are too high, this will cause lower carbon emissions and will help the climate crisis. The tire gauge indexes survey said that 54% of those surveyed have driven less in the past 30 days due to increasing gas prices. And more than half of those also said that saving money on fuel is the most appealing benefit of making the switch to an electric vehicle. And electric vehicles are very climate friendly, obviously, because they don't emit the carbon emissions that create the hole in the ozone layer and all that. And Go Banking Rate surveyed more than 1,000 American adults across the country, and they found that 53% are driving less. So you can see, because of these increased gas prices, over half of the people who are currently driving have decided to drive less, and some even making the switch to an electric vehicle. The American Lung Association reports that swapping gas vehicles for zero-emission new cars and trucks would lead to 110,000 fewer deaths, 2.8 million fewer asthma attacks, and avoid 3.4 million sick days by 2050. So it's not just the climate getting better and stuff, it's also affecting our human population with this decrease in gas in the atmosphere and everything. And if we keep going on with this path, there will be a 92% fall in greenhouse gases by 2050, which means that we could reach the Biden administration's goal of 50 to 52% below 2005 levels. So the more struggle it is to drive, obviously, the less people would want to do it. And the more expensive gas is, the more people will be careful of their usage of gas. And they may choose to use public transport or even walking or biking to shorter distances. I've even started biking to my library for the volunteer program that I've been doing, and it's actually been really fun to do. So it's, first of all, I'm helping the environment, and second of all, I'm getting exercise in. So some other ways of commuting that you can do instead of using a lot of gas: you can carpool, you can use public transportation, walk or bike, and you can shop local so that you can walk or bike there instead of driving. And I challenge you to do at least one of these things to going to your next destination so that you can help save the environment. And leave a comment down below on what you do. Next, we're going into the heat wave. So heat wave is an extreme weather phenomenon where there's unusually hot weather that lasts more than 2 days. And to be considered a heat wave, the outside temperature must be hotter than the historical average temperature of the area. Heat waves cause a lot of problems. They cause water sources to diminish, stress on plant life that can stunt growth, and drying out landscapes, and accelerating glacier ice melting. And this can lead to wildfires that destroy like everything, like the California wildfires that were happening last like a few months ago. The heat wave in 2003 caused Europe to experience severe tree damage and leaf fall, and that also released more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere than it was absorbed. Recently, there's been a big heat wave in US and Europe, and this harmed life in a bunch of ways, and it killed more than 1,000 people, which is likely to increase. Global warming has established a hotter baseline for summer temperatures, which increases the odds of more frequent, more extreme, and longer lasting heat waves, which many studies have shown. So over here, you can see that like this is one of the studies that shows that the frequency, duration, the season, and intensity has slowly increased over the years and will keep increasing if we don't do something about the climate problem. Because that increase in global temperature, and that's what's causing these heat waves to continue to increase. So specifically in New Jersey, if you live in Hunterdon, Mercer, Middlesex, Somerset, or Union County, they've been asked to conserve water voluntarily. And so you should probably do that because of this heat wave. And even if there wasn't a heat wave, it's still good to conserve water. So some ways to use less water is to turn the faucet off while brushing your teeth, run the washing or dishwasher only when it has a full load, use the sprinklers every other day instead of every day. And when you do water, water early or late in the day to minimize evaporation. You can also test your toilets and sinks for leaks to make sure you're not wasting water. And attach a automatic shutoff nozzle to your garden hose so that when you're using the hose, it's not just constantly flowing water. And lastly, the big thing is to shorten your showers. I'll admit to taking long showers, but I've been trying to cut down on my time. I know sometimes it's okay if you need like a break from your life because showers are calming and all that. So if you are able to, try to limit your showers between 5 to 20 minutes, 20 for like washing your hair, of course. But generally, if you're not doing that, maybe like 5 to 10 minutes. So yeah, climate change is causing these heat waves because of increasing temperature. And climate change also causes severe weather, which could be why the days it has rained, it's like pouring rain. Here you can see a graph on the heat wave in Europe and its forecast compared to, here it says July 19 in past years. So in that concentrated upper area near the UK and like the left side of like Germany and the top of France, it's reached to 20 degrees Fahrenheit above average. And that is a lot of increase, especially for Europe and the UK. Here are the heat indexes for the East Coast, and you can see like these are really bad temperatures. These are going like over 100 degrees or like really high 90s. That's like very, very hot. So I also advise you not to go outside too much because, you know, you could get like heat stroke and all that. So try to stay inside, try to use less water, and yeah. Thank you so much for listening. I'm going to be selling bracelets at a craft fair to donate money to a climate organization. So you could tell me which one I should donate to in the comments below, and look out to the poll on Instagram that will be posted soon about which organization I should donate my money to. Speaking of Instagram, follow me at the Climate Crisis Podcast and subscribe and like this video on YouTube. And please tune in to the next one. And if you haven't already, watch the last 3 episodes and the introduction that I posted. Thank you so much and see you next time. Bye.